Anabolic steroids are on the rise in the UK.
We didn't want to look like their favourite TikTok, Instagram star, YouTube star.
Young men believe that they aren't big or muscly enough.
I would like my body look like twice of this size.
Never satisfied with the way they look.
Having 17-inch bicep arms or something at one point and thinking it wasn't good enough.
Online sales are skyrocketing on social media.
They'll ship that product out, and it'll arrive at your doorstep, and it's as simple as that.
But there are severe risks involved.
I thought because he was looking so great and feeling so great, he would live forever.
How far will these men go to build their perfect body?
And you may end up with ventricular problems in your heart, with cardiac arrhythmias, heart attacks, heart failure.
Comparison has become the killer of confidence for a lot of young men. Around 65% of males spend their time aspiring to look like someone else online. And with the growing market of anabolic steroids on social media, hundreds of thousands across the UK are turning to them at the click of a button. But at what cost? There are an estimated 500,000 to 1 million steroid users in Britain, made up predominantly of men. And 22-year-old Constantine is one of them.
I began to take steroids 2 years ago, 2 years and a half actually. But I had like 8 years of training before. So I began to start to using steroids because my results was so high, so I couldn't grow more. I could, but very slowly. So that's why I choose to have this help. When I look myself in the mirror, I see kind of proudness, but as well I'm disappointed because I compare myself to the top bodybuilders sometimes.
What were the different types? Anabolic steroids are a drug that mimics the male hormone testosterone, and it is the most common type of image and performance enhancing drug, also known as IPEDs.
Here we have the testosterone. Actually, it's testosterone with trembolone. It's quite strong.
For bodybuilders like Constantine, it helps muscle growth and physical endurance. He uses the very common method of injecting it into his arm, but it can also be taken in the form of a gel, cream or tablet.
Relax the arm. And now slowly press it.
Currently, as the law stands, it is legal to use and possess anabolic steroids. But what is not legal is supplying them if you are not a licensed doctor. If caught, one could face up to 14 years of imprisonment. Constantine injects himself 3 times a week, but it's not a cheap lifestyle to maintain.
I get my steroids from our website, which I was looking for 1 year for good reviews. And to be everything perfect, I choose to order one time from there. I see the product comes with the unique code verification. I check it on the pharma where was made it, was alright, so from then I just use that website. I spend like £200 a month for steroids, but close to this one comes liver defender and heart defender, so let's say 250 per month. But I train 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, just to come closer to my goal, so it's worth it.
But whilst Constantine buys them online, this is not the only place that individuals are accessing them from. To understand more about how users are getting hold of these substances, I spoke to criminology lecturer Dr. Nick Gibson from Northumbria University.
So it used to be back in sort of the olden days of steroid use a few decades ago, before we had social media, before we had sort of channels of connectivity, it was quite hard to access steroids. It was within gym communities, within sort of gym using peers. But now with the rise of social media platforms, with the kind of accessibility that online platforms give us, be it surface websites, sites like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it's a lot easier to get hold of these products fundamentally. I would say the social media site with the most prevalence of sales online for steroids is probably Facebook. Slightly different to other platforms in that there are a lot of private groups that are used. So a seller will set up a group, invite lots of people who are in kind of gym communities. So it might be people who are on bodybuilding pages, who are kind of on gym pages, that sort of thing. They'll invite them into this group and they'll effectively sell to them.
I joined several Facebook groups to see just how easy it is for anyone to buy. All I typed in was steroids and found multiple private pages, with dozens of dealers ready to ship steroids with just a few clicks. But also, a lot of people are asking for advice on these groups, and many people are responding with help, from how much they should be taking to how to cycle. But one of the issues with this is, these are just people online. This could be anyone offering this advice. I've contacted Facebook about both of these matters and received no reply. Dr. Greg James owns Kratos Medical, a clinic that provides advice for steroid users. He's found that a lot of patients come to him with misinformation that they've found online.
So bro science is what's picked up in gyms and on forums. So the idea that if somebody talks about it with enough credibility, that it becomes an established idea without any sort of scientific basis. You know, I've had a vast array of different things said to me over the years. I think, you know, we've had everything from, you know, injecting growth hormone into certain parts of their body to make certain items grow. Genitalia, for example, being one of them, which is, you know, widely not accurate. And you see this a lot on forums. It's the, you know, I did this and this worked for me, therefore it, you know, it must be good and it'll work for everyone.
The number of men wanting to take steroids is increasing in the UK. A questionnaire with over 500 males last year found that 75% of them considered taking steroids. And this is being particularly influenced by what they see online. People want fast results and will also turn to advice from fitness coaches like Kyron, who's been a personal trainer for 4 years. He's had many young males approach him about wanting to improve their physiques.
When they come to me, it's kind of like they're very shy and timid and they have low self-esteem, and they feel like taking steroids will be that way of giving them the self-esteem, and that's the end goal. Typically, they will ask me, what steroids to take for this optimum result, and they'll show me a picture. Maybe they want to look like their favorite TikTok, Instagram star, YouTube star.
Just searching on Instagram, hashtags like muscle, body transformation, gym motivation, there's millions and millions of these posts of the supposedly ideal male physique. And it's become so normalised for everyone, especially young men, to see this type of content.
Another aspect to the online market or online fitness space more generally, I think, is social media influencers and kind of fitspiration influencers. So those people who are all about lifestyle, building the body. So even if that person is not talking about steroid use overtly, just the fact that you're seeing that enlarged body, that kind of idealised physique, will lead some people, some men in particular, in this sense at least, towards thinking about enhancements rather than just sort of plugging away and doing their gym work and kind of working on themselves. Here we go.
So if posting online can have such damaging effects, why do people like Kyron continue to share images and videos despite knowing the consequences?
I think I try to keep it real, but at the same time it's social media too, right? So we all kind of have to try and portray our best look, because for me as a personal trainer, when I'm posting stuff on social media, I want business too, right? So I want people to think, oh, like I'm in shape, and you know, if you go to a personal trainer, you want them to be in shape. You pick a personal trainer because you aspire to look like them. So when I'm posting, it's like I want people to aspire to look like me, but I want to do it in an ethical way too. I don't want to claim to be someone I'm not, or take stuff behind doors and then claim to be this healthy guy. So.
But with the constant feed of muscular men, comparison online becomes unescapable. This has led to mental health conditions such as body dysmorphia, which is when someone spends an unhealthy amount of time worrying about the way that they look. A study revealed that over 50% of male respondents suffered with the condition and felt bad about themselves. I spoke to Dr. William Shanahan, Clinical Director of the UK's leading provider of addiction rehab. He supported patients suffering with muscle dysmorphia, which is a subtype of body dysmorphia.
Muscle dysmorphia and how this may influence anabolic steroid use is an interesting question. Some of this comes from the various parts of the body that people want to change. So they get fixated on one part of themselves. They may think their biceps are too small, their legs are too small, and particularly that their pecs are too small. And some people will even inject locally into those muscles to try to bulk them up. They will use sometimes even paraffin and oils.
Nutritionist Daniel suffers with body dysmorphia and has struggled with the way he looks from a very young age. He began taking steroids in 2019 for 4 years, after believing that it would make him happy. But when things took a turn, he decided to stop.
I was severely bullied at school for the way I looked, and I was severely overweight. I was gay, and I am gay, and I've got red hair, which at the time it was never accepted, and I was constantly bullied. And so I always thought I had to look different. When I used to look into like Instagram or whatever it is, I'd see these visions of what people were. I didn't necessarily look at them and think, I thought it was achievable just by doing weights and eating well. I started at a new gym, and in this gym it was quite evident that a lot of people were taking steroids. And so I just thought it was a good idea to just try it.
A very common technique of taking steroids is cycling. This is when users will spend around 6 to 8 weeks consuming them and having a period without. Instead, Daniel blasted and cruised steroids, meaning that he spent 8 weeks on a high dose and then the next few weeks on a lower one.
Because once you start, you don't necessarily, the nature of kind of body dysmorphia, all this, the kind of literature around this, is that you don't just satiate that feeling. You're not just, oh, I'm sorted now, I've taken some steroids. Even if you do use them effectively, you do get bigger, there'll be a yearning to get even bigger. So you're stuck in this kind of hamster wheel, you're going round and round and round. So it's not a solution.
When I looked at myself in the mirror, it was about what I could improve. And it was just looking at myself in the mirror thinking, right, okay, your arms look small. And I remember measuring my arms and having 17-inch bicep arms or something at one point, and thinking it wasn't good enough and I needed 19-inch arms.
I was training for 8 years naturally, and I bring my body to the limit, let's say to the genetic limits, after I choose to take steroids to overcome the limit. And now when I look at myself in the mirror, I am happy, let's say, but I know I have to improve more and more. And I will improve this one only with food, good diet, steroids, let's say, because I'm on steroids, and training. I would like my legs to be much more bigger, my chest, my back, let's say, whole body bigger.
When we see someone with a muscular physique, we may think that they are healthy. But really, we don't see the short and long-term side effects that can become life-threatening.
In the beginning, it'll be fatty deposition in places where you don't want it. You may gain weight around the body that you think looks good, but you may also then put weight on your heart, because people forget that if one part of the body is gaining weight, the whole of the body is gaining weight. So the real problem may be cardiac, and you may end up with ventricular problems in your heart, with cardiac arrhythmias, heart attacks, heart failure, and this of course is very dangerous.
For Daniel, the costs of his steroid use began outweighing the benefits when his health started deteriorating.
I think friends said to me, you're getting a bit too big in terms of like not looking necessarily healthy. I lost my hair started receding quite badly, and I had to undergo a transplant for that. I remember walking to a store or something that was 10 minutes away walking, and I remember having real just shin splints that I've had to stop, and I couldn't walk any further. And I was sitting down thinking, okay, maybe this is starting to affect me.
Although Daniel was 34 when he started using steroids, a growing number of even younger males are turning to them. The most common age of iPad users is between 20 to 24. However, because they're so easy to get hold of, even teenagers can access them. Kyron was approached by one of his 17-year-old clients, who felt similarly to Daniel.
He was very low self-esteem, skinny, male, wanting to put on some size, he wants more validation. He's getting to that stage where, he's talking to girls and he's almost approaching university. So he was just asking about it, and long story short, I tried to put him off it and say, just work hard, focus on your nutrition. But there's only so much you can tell an impressionable teenager when they're still outside of the gym, scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, on YouTube. So he ended up taking it. But a couple weeks later, he got really sick, really ill, and then he's messaging me like, I've got this really bad fever and all these things. But these are the things people don't see. They just see I gained this much muscle in this amount of weeks, but they don't see the things behind the doors.
Many steroid users will take medication to reduce the risk of getting unwanted side effects. Constantine takes pills to stop the chances of breast development, also referred to as gynecomastia. This can happen as injecting more testosterone can actually increase the female hormone, estrogen.
So the implications, they don't bother you?
Nope. They don't exist, let's say.
Constantine visited a doctor 2 months ago and was told that his cortisol was high and his liver was slightly damaged. But despite this, he has no intention of stopping.
It's never going to be risk-free. You can educate people and you can say, this is going to potentially cause X, Y, and Z. And then if the client is aware of that, or the patient has knowledge of those problems and still goes ahead, then we've, from our perspective, our side of things as healthcare professionals, we've done our bit. We've helped educate them, and it's up to then the individual.
Whilst many men take anabolic steroids to build their bodies and improve athletic performance, they are also used medically to treat men with problems such as delayed puberty, loss of muscle mass from diseases, or an imbalance of hormones. I went to meet Barbara in Surrey.
And he did really well at school too.
Barbara's son Lex was prescribed steroids by his doctor in South Africa at 17 after being diagnosed with mitral valve and kidney disease. Whilst his health improved, he began abusing them and brought them online when he moved to the UK.
Oh, there he is. He was one of the big boys.
Yeah, he looks quite healthy.
He was big. No, he was healthy. He was really healthy.
One morning in June 2020, he was rushed to the hospital after experiencing heart palpitations and sweats.
He was a very, very kind and caring person. I really thought he was having a panic attack. And I thought that I still said to him that evening, don't you worry. You're in the right place. You're going to be fine. His phone died, so we didn't have any communication with him. And the nurse, sweet little Filipino woman, she took the phone to Lex, and he said to me, Mom, I'm not feeling good. He said, they can't regulate my heart. But he said, I love you all. And I said to him, we love you and we'll be with you the next morning.
Sadly, they could not get his heart rate down, and Lex passed away at 27 years old due to organ failure. But steroids changed Lex's life. He began socialising again, and his mental health improved after years of depression. Despite knowing the costs of steroids, Lex took them anyway, and his life expectancy of 10 years was cut even shorter.
I don't think Lex worried too much about what he was putting into his body, because he knew that his ultimate goal was to make him feel great, look great, feel great, and that is how he basically wanted to end the time that he had. Did we know that it would be that soon? No. I thought because he was looking so great and feeling so great, he would live forever, But within him, he knew he had that death sentence.
Dr. Orlando Harvey, who is a senior lecturer at Bournemouth University, has carried out multiple studies with steroid users to learn about their motivations behind taking them.
Some of them were using it to match their identity and to feel more masculine. Some were using it for health reasons. So there was such a wide range of reasons. And it's amazing the amount of people who said the benefits outweigh the side effects. And yes, I know that if I kept using in the long term, it could impact my heart. But actually, I'm 25 and I'm living my best life.
After Lex's death, Barbara spent a lot of time feeling that she had to justify why he carried on taking steroids, despite knowing the repercussions.
For me as a mother, I think the most important thing is to take away the stigma of it. You know, nobody wants to admit that they're taking steroids. So there's millions of men who are taking testosterone simply to feel better. So I think we need to now focus more on the fact that try and take that stigma away from it.
So why are so many men afraid to speak out about taking steroids?
I think most people know that, especially if they're injecting drugs, that they're doing something that is not going to be well received by their families. The people who sell the drugs are gym instructors and give it out to their clients. They keep it very secret because they don't want people to know about it. So that begins the secrecy. So I think there's a sense of secrecy because people will worry that it will be frowned on and they may lose their jobs if they get caught out.
But I think there's also a stigma that comes from it being a drug that is illegal to buy or sell, so it's one of those things that comes under our drugs legislation. And also a stigma just around how we judge others who are different to us. And people use Botox and things like that, and nobody questions the way that women change their bodies to appear more beautiful, so why shouldn't they be allowed the same? Why are they getting stigmatised?
Yeah. Talented youngster.
But anabolic steroids are still a Class C drug, and like any other substance, it may not always be easy to give up.
He knew exactly what he was doing, so there was never a case of him not knowing, but it becomes an addiction. And I think that's where the grey area becomes that dark black spot. And I think it's knowing the difference between that and when you're actually abusing it. It's to know when to put the brakes on. If someone's going through a situation like this, as a mother, and I know for the rest of our family, get help. You know, find somebody that can help you. Know what you're taking. And I think this is why, you know, Lex did. Lex knew what he was taking. He knew the repercussions of it. But there's so many that aren't, that are going through this exact thing. And youngsters, you know, young boys I see, taking information from the internet.
So who does the responsibility lie with? For now, the law and social media companies are not doing enough to tackle the widespread issue of online selling and its effects on its buyers. But there is one Member of Parliament who is particularly adamant to raise awareness on the growing concerns of anabolic steroids. Dr. Luke Evans.
We are sleepwalking into a crisis. And I ask for three things. The first is to commission research into steroids. The second is to pull together the departments that this crosses over. This isn't a one single departmental issue. And third of all is education and awareness.
It's up to the government to get information and support out to the public and look at ways to strategise the regulation of steroids in the UK.
The public health concern for me would be with the population that are not the hardcore lifters, not the hardcore bodybuilders. It would be John down the gym who wants to get a bit bigger and wants to have a little go on steroids, because those people don't know the correct techniques.
There's a fake promise out there that some of these anabolic steroids can bring you beauty and bring you bulk. And indeed, in fairness, for a while some people do put on weight and do get the ripped chest, but at a cost.
However, with a growing digital fitness industry and around 18.4% of recreational athletes such as bodybuilders taking steroids, the price of health is a chance worth taking for some.
I know they could appear more risk to have like liver disease or something like that, but I will take it Every 3 months I will take liver defenders or organ defenders.
And research shows steroid users are at a higher risk of an early death. But even making it illegal for personal use might not tackle this issue.
But at the same time, picking up these improper substances, let's say, will only find its way through black markets and underground sort of methods. So it's a tricky one to navigate.
It's going to make someone more closed off about talking to someone if steroid use is completely illegal.
Many people are still afraid to speak out, which means it may remain behind closed doors if more conversations are not encouraged.
We need to support those people who are having problems when they're using them to either use them more safely or to come off them completely. You know, who am I to judge whether somebody should use drugs to change their appearance?
But I would say to those who are using it, you know, think about it carefully before you go down this road. Think of the repercussions on your family and your friends and your parents, and this death sentence that you're basically putting on yourself.
Despite people like Dr. Luke Evans pushing the government to bring about some change, the image and performance enhancing drug industry remains unregulated, meaning that the number of young men accessing them and potentially putting their lives at risk will only continue to grow.